What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. This is my Chipotle shirt. I just got in from work, but I'm really excited for this one. And so is Achilles. Today, coffee, we get a look at one of the factions I'm the most excited to see content coming out for in the Lost Omens character guide. So excited that I forgot to take off my glasses. I hope y'all enjoy all that lens flare. Let's talk about the Magaambya, shall we? If y'all are liking what you're seeing, do remember to like, subscribe, and ding that bell. Today, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition content might be brought to you by a cat. Come on, buddy. Don't look at me. Hit the hand. But also, AJ Parker. Thanks for your help, friend. Now, quote. When considering the best organizations to showcase in the upcoming Lost Omens character guide, we asked ourselves who the most iconic figures in our setting were or should be. Case in point, the Magaambya. Founded by legendary old mage Jatembe, credited with bringing back magic as the Inner Sea region knows it after the destruction of Earthfall, the Magaambya is the oldest magic school in the Inner Sea and possibly on Golarion. The parallel in prestige to real-world institutions like Oxford and Cambridge, hey, they drew the line for me. I didn't have to point it out for y'all, haha. The Magaambya surely stood as one of the premier organizations in the Age of Lost Omens campaign setting. And I have to agree, I feel like I didn't know anything about the Magaambya in 1st edition, except for they were important and from the Mwangi Expanse, and that's all I had. I'm really excited to see more of them as we move forward. And that's literally the next part of the quote! Except like many things in the Mwangi Expanse, that was truer in theory than in reality. While factions such as the Pathfinder Society would travel into Garund quite often, it seemed that the Magaambya was skimping on its travel budget, and members of the Arcane College weren't often seen in official Paizo products. One of our goals in the Lost Omens character guide was to firmly define the current presence and goals of the Magaambya. In addition to their heavy presence in the Mwangi Expanse, the Magaambya has begun setting up satellite colleges to the north. After the explosion, many times literal, of arcane events and anomalies that have occurred in Avestan, from the closure of the World Wound to the appearance of New Thassalon to the destruction caused by the Whispering Tyrant, the scholars of the South have decided it's about time they go see what on earth is happening up there. And check out this art, also. That's a catfolk, isn't it? That's an Amurin. We don't see them officially yet, unfortunately, but soon, I hope. Right? Guys? Anyway, moving on. Joining the Magaambya is simply a matter of finding a teacher to sponsor you. Easy enough. But you don't count as a full-fledged member just from the get-go. Initiates first have to complete a prerequisite, a period of public service. Unlike the teachings of Nethys, the Magaambya doesn't believe that magic is worth studying just for the sake of being magic. It's what the magician intends to do with their power that's important, and the Magaambya believes that those who can cast magic should use it to aid other people. That prerequisite is thus a means to earn the right to study at the Magaambya, but also the Magaambya's most important lesson. Public service and a willing sponsor are still much easier entrance requirements than other prestigious colleges who can often discriminate on the grounds of class, ancestry, or wealth. The Magaambya has a startling array of peoples among its students, including many ancestries that have unsavory reputations in other places. Anadi, I know what that is. Do you know what that is? Those are neat. I really want to see ancestry stuff for them. Catfolk, Nulls, and Iruxi can be found openly studying on the grounds. Even perspectives from Usaro, Imzali, or the Sargavan people, as many Mwangi call the colonists who recently ruled Vidrian. Maybe that's what we're talking about on Inner Sea 2 this week. Codifying the Mwangi Expanse, what's happened, how many colonizers have been overthrown. Seems good. I also really like the fact that as long as you're good, as long as you intend to do good with your magic, they'll teach you here. Do you have to go to great lengths to prove that your intents are good? Yeah, sure, you do. But in a world where there are liches and demon lords and things like that, I think that's more than reasonable. Anyway, moving forward. The Magaambya is founded in the teachings of old mage Jatembe, most critically that all magic is magic, regardless of the source. Distinctions such as divine, primal, arcane, and occult are simply distractions from the truth. Of course, this distinction is easier said than practiced, as the Magaambya well knows. The Magaambya's signature spellcasting is known as Halcyon magic. Hey, me and some of the guys were just talking about the Halcyon Druid from 1E not too long ago. Neato. A tradition that combines both arcane and primal magic when casting spells. Characters who take the Halcyon Speaker archetype represent those mages who have mastered Halcyon magic and at higher levels can even learn to cast multiple Halcyon spells at once. Dang. So let's look at what that means mechanically. Through hard study, Magambyans can meld arcane and primal spellcasting. Halcyon spells are spells from the arcane or primal spell list. You don't gain new Halcyon spells via the normal means you typically use to gain spells. Instead, you gain new Halcyon spells and new spell levels of Halcyon spells only through feats. Halcyon spells are prepared or cast just like any other spells granted by your class. For example, a wizard would add them to their spell list, a sorcerer would add them to their spell list but not their spell book. If you have more than one arcane or primal spellcasting class, you add Halcyon spells to all such classes. Each time you cast a Halcyon spell, decide whether it is an arcane or primal spell. You can't heighten a Halcyon spell beyond your maximum spell level of Halcyon spell, even if you have higher spell slots, and you can't select one of these as a signature spell. Each time you gain a level and learn new spells, and each time you get a different Halcyon feat, you can swap out one of your old Halcyon spells for a different Halcyon spell of the same level. This is in addition to any swapping from anything else. You can also swap out Halcyon spells by retraining during downtime. If you have a spell book, when you swap out a Halcyon spell, you lose the spell from your book entirely. So that was clear as mud, right? I imagine once we see more of the feats for this, we'll understand it a little better. But at feat level 6, the first one we got today is Halcyon Speaker. The dedication requires you have the Magaambyan attendant dedication, be a member of the Magaambya at conversant rank, so basically a year of downtime. Neato. You devote much of your study to Halcyon magic. You gain access to 2 common Halcyon cantrips and 2 common first level Halcyon spells, which again, arcane or primal. In addition to being able to cast your Halcyon spells via your arcane or primal spell slots, you gain a first level Halcyon spell slot. You can use your Halcyon spell slots to spontaneously cast your Halcyon spells. So what I'm seeing when I read this is versatility across 2 really good spell lists. The druid gets access to some wizardy stuff, the wizard gets access to some druidy stuff, and extra spell slots look good on everybody. But that's not all. These guys have branching paths just the same as the Hell Knights do. Quote, characters that complete their prerequisite, again, how you're doing that in your game, not super sure, gain the rank of Attendant, which allows them to begin advancement in the Magaambyan fields of learning, such as Halcyon magic. Attendants are also expected to choose what branch of the Magaambya, specialized faculties within the school, the student wishes to pursue. Magaambyan attendants have 5 branches to choose from, representing their commitment to one of the school's 5 specialized faculties. Pursuing work within that branch offers on-the-job training that can grant a student unique abilities. A Cascade Bearer, who focuses on advancing magical theory, I have a lot of players who I think would really like that, can use her extensive studies to warp her magic on the fly, such as extending great effort to applying a minor metamagic feat she has not mastered to a spell, nice. Tempest Sun mages, who exist to protect the Magaambya and its allies, can channel some of their offensive magic into a magical barrier to defend themselves. Is this a DR? Is this a magic shield thing? Either way, it looks really cool, especially for you Gishi types. Characters that join with one of the 5 branches can represent their focus via the Magaambyan Attendant dedication at feat level 2. If you are trained in Arcana or Nature and you're a member of the Magaambya at Attendant rank, if you've done your year's community service, you devote much of your study to Halcyon magic. You gain the ability to cast a single arcane or primal cantrip of your choice. As is normal for cantrips, it's heightened to a spell level equal to half your level rounded up. If you weren't already, you become trained in that tradition's spell DCs and spell attack rolls, with Intelligence as your spellcasting ability if you chose Arcane, or Wisdom if you chose Primal. Regardless of whether or not you chose an Arcane or Primal cantrip, you also either become trained in Arcana or Nature, or an expert in one of those skills which you were already trained. When you gain this feat, choose to affiliate with the Cascade Bearers, Emerald Bows, Rain Scribes, Tempest Sun Mages, or Uzunjati. This grants you additional feats available to only that branch. Again, just like Hell Knight orders. You can't select another dedication other than Halcyon Speaker until you've gone through it, so on and so forth. The feat we see in the blog today is Rain Scribe Mobility. You surround yourself in a mantle of rain scribe magic at feat level 10 for 2 actions with the Magaambyan attendant dedication and affiliation with the rain scribes, and stride twice. Difficult terrain does not reduce your speed, even if the difficult terrain has been manipulated by magic. Your magic clears the difficult terrain in each square you entered until your next turn. Those squares aren't difficult terrain for any creature walking through them, or are normal difficult terrain if they were previously greater difficult terrain. Could be really good for fighting in jungles or marshes or things like that, especially if you're that big and angry, sword and spell kind of guy. I think this might be my favorite part. Quote, in addition, attendants gain the right to create a Magaambyan mask and have it recognized by the other faculty and students. The mask can be unnerving and difficult to explain to outsiders. While they begin as simple wood, continual use is meant to leave an imprint of the wearer's true face, etched into the mask by the student's soul and magical power. The mask serves as a focus and guide for the attendant's magic, as well as a connection between the attendant's body and spiritual self. Masks are not considered mandatory, however, and some people find these masks too unsettling to use, especially the ones that move and speak on their own. Lastly, friends, it's the mask familiar feat. With that Magaambyan attendant dedication at feat level 4, your mask takes on a personality of its own, allowing it to serve as your familiar. Though you can still wear it as a mask, you can detach it from your face to grant it a bodily form of colored light that allows it to move around. Usually, this is a miniature form of the animal the mask represents. Aww. Detaching or reattaching the familiar to transform it is a 2-action activity. Even in mask form, the familiar can move around on its master's face, fun, and speaks in a distinct voice if it can talk. It is easily recognized as more than a simple mask unless the familiar succeeds at a deception check to impersonate a mask. Other than its appearance and the fact that it can be worn, it functions as other familiars. Your mask familiar has access to the Mask Freeze familiar ability, which we don't see here, because what's better than having a little tiny baby rabbit to go scouting for you, and then when combat hits, it's nice and safe, right on your face, right where you know where it is. Anyway, that's all we have to say for today. What do you guys think about the Magaambya? Have we played him in the past? Are we playing him in the future? Throw it in the comments. Let me know. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition content drops, probably covering whatever else comes out in the blog tomorrow, next Tuesday.